Dublin City Council initiated the St Anne's Park Community Archaeology Project in 2021. It is a partnership project initiated under the Dublin City Strategic Heritage Plan, and it is a collaboration between the Council's Parks Department and the Archaeology and Heritage Sections of the Planning and Property Development Department. This year we plan to continue with the excavation that we started in 2022, have a 25-day excavation during August and September. Where volunteers from across the communities surrounding the park can come to engage in the archaeological process and help us to reveal and understand more about what remains of the old St Anne's mansion.
So this time around we were looking at the front of the mansion, the facade. It's a very visible location at the bottom end of the avenue there. Within the park there's a huge open space in front of it. So it was very attractive for everybody in the park to kind of sort of look at it and go, oh, what's going on down there, and wander down to see us. Over the course of 5 weeks, this year we worked Friday to Tuesdays. We had 250 volunteers, in addition to 10 transition year students on our transition year Tuesdays. Obviously I'm an archaeologist, not a teacher, so we don't usually get the chance to work with transition year students, and to see how keen they were to learn through doing the active excavation, looking at finds.
It's one of the first things you do in junior cert history, and it's kind of like, it's sort of interesting to come and see everything that we learned, like all the tools that we learned about in school, and get to use them all and see how they are actually like used in a real excavation.
Well, we usually use the trowel to kind of get the soil off the top, and if we find any rocks or stuff, we'll use the brush to brush off any dust without damaging them. And then we separate then if we find kind of tiles or artifacts, we put them in a separate pile.
It's very meticulous, everything you have to do, like you have to be really careful. If you do find something, you obviously have to be really careful with it. Like everything we learn about, it seems like
more detailed here.
Yeah, it's like seeing everything that we learned about in a lot more detail than we did it in school.
I think archaeology in its nature is looking at material culture, and holding something in your hands is very different to reading about something in a book or even looking at pictures. And I think standing in the old footprint of the old mansion, and you kind of imagine what it would have looked like in its heyday. So I think it really brings things to life for people.
We find, rather than trying to kind of smother or mother people, that it's better to let people just work away at their own and find their own level. If there's any problems they can ask, and that's why we have a crew of professional archaeologists there with us, so just to help them along. But it's a collaborative process that, it's great to be able to let people do.
One of the early highlights was in the first week, the excavation, where we actually started getting the glimpses of the remnants of the foundations, the front of the house, and the lovely Portland stone, and even the fact that the doorstep survived, and a couple other features. So we're getting some nice little inklings of the people that worked or lived in the house.
The old house is long since gone, so it's nice to unearth the foundations and show the public exactly what it was like, or the footprint of it anyway.
It makes the past come alive, you're uncovering pieces of the past. For example, on this dig, I think right back at the start we discovered things like an old gas mask, because the house was used for storing materials during the emergency. And another, then we uncovered the front doorbell. So things like that kind of bring it alive, that this was a big house back in the day, in its prime.
You're walking down and you just see, a mound, and you say that's where the house was. But actually to see, the entrance hall, the stones, everything you get, you're excited about. You think, oh my God, this is something. And, usually it turns out not to be something, but when you do find something, it's great.
The first day of this dig, I found the doorbell. So it was just kind of, I think it's one of the most interesting things so far that they have found.
It was nice because when you'd have seen it before, you wouldn't have really known what was there. And now, when I walk past it, I can know that the house was there and what it was like before.
It was cool to be able to tell my mum all the stuff I found, and my dad, because they would have been going to the park and all. So they like to know what I found and how I found it.
I find it's very therapeutic, and you just get lost in it.
The beauty of particularly a community dig like this is, if anybody finds anything, then everybody suddenly gathers around and has an interest in it. So, it's not individual things, everyone finding bits and pieces, you know, as it goes along. So if anyone finds anything interesting, we all share in it, you know, which is great.
We've been finding like tiles and old floorboards and things like that.
I would say it is a lot of work, it is tiring, but like it is very rewarding. Like when you find something, you're like, oh my God, okay.
When you find something that's like not just like a rock, it's like, oh my God. And then if you put it into the context, like, oh, this is like someone's house, like this was someone's, like these tiles, like people have like walked on these and these pipes, like, you know, these like heated a house. It's actually kind of cool that you're like, you know, digging up this house that, you know, people actually lived in.
We found some really nice Victorian tiles today and they've been really vibrant, sticking through all the bits of old rubble, and so it's been nice for the students to find.
I think the excitement, you know, I'd liken the excitement maybe to a kid opening a present at Christmas. You know, all of a sudden you uncover something there that's significant that you haven't seen before, and there's a certain joy in all of us, and certainly very apparent in all of our volunteers, transition years, or our more seasoned volunteers. It was a revelation this year in terms of the structural elements of the mansion that we came across. So we found the remains of the carriage road leading up to the portico at the front of it, and the foundations of the portico, which is this very grand feature at the front of the house. We found the remains of the front steps and the porch and part of the main hall as well. And within the porch, there were several thousand fragments of these beautiful encaustic floor tiles that date to about 1875 to 1880. So we covered a lot of ground at the front of the house, and the impact of that was that everybody who came up to us were astounded by the work of the volunteers, and there's been a huge interest around it this year, a lot of media interest in the project, and it's great to see it, to be able to publicise the work of the volunteers and why we're doing this thing.
It's a wonderful project for the community, and there's great enthusiasm. I'm hearing a lot about it because it's their local area. They remember, like me, you know, I remember climbing over the old marble pillars that were there. It was always under that mound, you know, what's under there, you know, so quite a lot is remaining, and I think there's quite a lot to discover.
The idea of excavating something that is part of people's living history is a very different thing for us as archaeologists in comparison. I would say, you know, if we're excavating the likes of Newgrange and so on, it's a very, very distant history. So in the case of something like St Anne's House, it's a very immediate form of history. It's very, very tangible, and it's very emotive to a lot of people. They might remember their parents talking fondly about the house of that generation, or they might have had their wedding photographs or communion pictures taken on the steps after the house was demolished. So it's a very immediate form of archaeology, and it's also very demonstrable in terms of, you know, everything that we do find and everything that volunteers find on the house has so far, anyway, thankfully, been very explainable for us as archaeologists.
It's really interesting for volunteers to engage in all aspects of the archaeological process. And one of those aspects is the processing of the archaeological finds that have been uncovered here. So since the end of September, the volunteers have been back in St Anne's Park for 6 consecutive Fridays, cleaning and preparing archaeological finds and documenting them under the supervision of the team at Archaeology and Built Heritage Limited.
They've been on site, they've dug, they've recorded, they've basically got a feel for the excavation. Now they're getting to actually be a part of the process of the, you know, engaging with the material itself, which is really fundamental into kind of understanding the archaeological process.
When I heard about the post-excavation stuff, I decided to sign up because you can only really learn so much from, you know, the books and the slides and lectures. So getting that experience and working with other people especially is definitely important.
It's my first day, and what I'm actually doing is with my colleague Karen, we are logging the pieces of stained glass that have been found, cleaned and prepared, and we're documenting them on the computer, the width, the depth, the thickness, the length of each piece, and cataloguing them basically.
Last week I was doing the measuring, this week I'm doing washing, so you get a kind of a taste of the procedural aspects of it, of museum guidelines for measuring, taking the information in the database, stuff like that. And it's a lot of fun. You get to meet a lot of people who also find at least history or archaeology interesting as well.
They're getting to kind of understand why we do it, why we do what we do, and I guess like they're learning all about how to, you know, protect our heritage for future generations, because We're teaching them all about like how we engage with the National Museum as well. And I think that's really fundamental, like, to the whole process. We're recording the house, the Institute House, and what we're doing is we're then creating a resource for future generations, and that will be accessible to for people to consult, whether it's people who have an interest in local history, historians, archaeologists, whoever really. It's trying to, you know, create that narrative. And it just kind of, you're trying to bring the house to life in that regard.
It puts it more in perspective. It's not just about the finds, it's about the whole story of the park and the people in the community as well.
It's hard to believe that in one little area, in one park, in one particular part of a town, a city, whatever, you could find something from the past that opens up doors to stories, to finds, to just, even for me, more interest in learning more about history.
Participating in projects like this really bring benefit to the individual as well as to the community, and this brings people out into the community working together on a project which they obviously have a great passion for, that connection to community and to place, which I think is really important probably in a world that's moving so fast and things are happening so quickly, that this type of work is, you know, really good in terms of wellness and the well-being of the individual and the community. And we're very grateful to have the funding from the Heritage Council and Creative Ireland, because without that we wouldn't be able to do this absolutely wonderful project.
Being in the field and actually, you know, using their hands to, you know, understand, you know, history and archaeology, it's kind of, I think it's giving them a completely different perspective and appreciation for it.
I think year on year I'm always just blown away by the enthusiasm of the volunteers, their hard work, and I honestly can't thank them enough.
To come here on Saturdays in particular, when the park is so busy with people coming here for lots of different reasons, but then for them to come across the excavation and to start sharing memories about their childhood and their reflections on what used to be here. And for so many people who are new to the area, this history is really, you know, they're hearing it for the very first time. So to get so many people from different backgrounds, for them to engage in the park in a really meaningful way by, you know, looking at the excavation as it's taking place and seeing what the volunteers are doing, I think has really captured people's imaginations and led to a renewed sense of pride in this wonderful park.